Welcome to the Learning Curve, powered by Two Turn, the podcast for center owners who care as much about their spreadsheets as they do their students. I'm Adam, and I'm here to get in the weeds of running a successful business. Today, we're joined by Niel from EduSuite, CEO. Welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Good morning. Thank you, Adam, for having me as a guest.
Yeah, my pleasure. So please introduce yourself and your company.
Uh, I'm Niel Dagondon. I'm the CEO and also the founder of EduSuite. It's an 8-year-old SaaS company. Our main clients are initially universities and colleges, and then we also got into K-12 and kinder schools at our clients' request. So we provide school management systems for them, including stuff they use for enrollment, enlistment, admitting new students, and all the way to billing them and making sure that students are updated with their payments, and the owners are also updated with everything that's happening with a company. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Where are you based?
We're based in south of Metro Manila, but our clients are all over the Philippines. The Philippines is a 7,000 island archipelago, so we have clients. We have to boat or fly in to a lot of our clients all around the Philippines. Right now, we're at around 50 schools in the Philippines, mostly private schools. All private schools in the Philippines.
Tell me how you got into this business.
Um, Actually, EduSuite is not the first company I started. It's the fourth company I started. Prior to that, I was already running a school, and the school is still expanding. It's actually a growing school. I was running the school for I think like 7 years, and the reason I started a school was because we had a lack of education centers in the Philippines that actually do industry based learning. A lot of the schools here are very theoretical based bachelor's degree. So I started a school that does a lot more hands on practical learning. I ran that school, and what I found was that there was a lack of good software to help run schools. And after trying out like between 5 to 10 softwares, both local startups, established software, and even imported software coming from abroad, none were really fitting into the requirements of local schools. So, I came from tech. Why not? I'll just start my own company that will create software for other schools. So that's how EduSuite started. So our first client was actually the school that I started. They're still our guinea pig whenever we have beta features. And we want to roll out something that might break. We roll it out to our school first, and then after it's been running, that's when we roll it out to the other schools, our other clients, and yeah, and then basically that's how it started as a prototype. Um, so I was looking to start software that caters towards like the workflows of Philippine education. We have a lot of unique characteristics in the local market. A lot of our students go in and out of the school. Like sometimes they skip a term, they don't follow. Government has a very strict mandate on what sequence of subjects you should be taking one after the other. And with a lot of our students like skipping some of those years, it's very very hard for the school to predict which subjects they should be offering per term. And the schools here, they want to maximize that because they want to keep the education cost low. So they need to think about like how many students I need to be putting in the classroom. And a lot of the schools do that in a manual way. They have big whiteboards with big index cards, trying out everything from predicting what the class demand is, and scheduling the teachers. And even after they start, there's a lot of inefficiencies, a lot of classes that they need to open or cancel because there's not enough students or there's too many students in the class. So a lot of mistakes were being made. So we made a prototype to address that problem by proactively predicting the class demand per term and creating a schedule for the school without human intervention. Um, and that's when we made that prototype, we showed it to the Philippine government, the Department of Science and Technology. They decided to give us a grant so we can turn that prototype into a commercial software. And that's actually when we incorporated, and that's how EduSuite started back in 2017.
Tell me about your tech background initially and the school you started.
Oh, okay. So I took up computer science. My tech background actually is in programming, but the languages we were using then are different from the languages we're using now. So I started in C, C++, C sharp, that family of languages, because we needed to code close to the hardware since it was video games. And one thing with video games is it needs to run very efficiently. It needs to run fast. So that's basically my tech background. Of course, running the company for 14 years. After a couple of years, I needed to step away from the actual coding part because there's other parts of the businesses I need to take care of. The business development, the HR, everything else. Um, and after a while, we had an association of game development companies. One of our issues was always that there there is a lack of people graduating that gets through our screening process to become an game designer or graphic designer or programmer, because a lot of what they were being taught in schools was very theoretical. So they had a lack of actual software use and tools use. And after complaining about it for association meeting after association meeting, that's when I decided to do something about it as well. And that's when we started school. Initially, we were just teaching short courses, like 18-month short courses from when um, they start, from when they graduate, all the way to employment. But after a while, there was really a big demand to start it from earlier, like offer bachelor's degree and undergraduate degrees. And yeah, the school's grown from there. So it's about to turn 20 years, I believe. Like by next year, it's going to be turning 20 years.
It sounds like during your whole career, you're doing game development, you need game designers, so then you make a school. The school doesn't have software, so then you go make software. It sounds like your whole career path is you creating problems for yourself that you then have to go solve and pivot in like a completely new direction.
Solving problems, yeah. Yeah, that's very true. So my businesses were about solving the problems that I encounter myself, from from games yeah, to talent to systems. So that's how. And what I discover is that well, the school's been we were actually named one of the 50 fastest growing companies in the Philippines. The school, I think there were like two schools on that list that were fastest growing, because like from when we started with 20 students, like last year we hit 2500, 2600 students. So that's been a good growth. And the problems I was solving for my own school is now being used by 50 other schools around the Philippines. So I encountered that the problems are not isolated to myself, that those are the same problems that I talk to other school owners with. And they say that we also need that sort of solution, because it's the same situation, like all over the Philippines. It's the same government regulations, it's the same behavior of students also.
Talk briefly just about the game development landscape. I think it's an interesting time to talk about that because, 20s, 16 was a completely different time, different industry. There's, been a lot of like layoffs and like hiring stuff going on and just a lot of upheavals in the game industry. I just would like your insight on that.
Well, there's always been a lot of upheavals in the game industry, and I guess that's why I decided to, step away from my game development career as well, because it's very exhausting. Like having something changing year after year. If it's not a new hardware, it's also like new business models. And like at the time that I stepped away from the game development industry, it was the rise of the indie developers. There used to be like big companies, and big companies would have these multiple subsidiaries, one for hardcore gamers, one for casual gamers that do match trees and hidden object games, and then they have like for the console division. And what happened like 12ish years ago was that game developers were publishing the games themselves. So, because of opening up of the App Store, you didn't need to go through the telcos now, and, the Google Play Market and Steam. And at that time, it became a case where games were a hit or miss. So you make 10 games, you need one hit to cover for the 9 games that lost money. At that time, it would be good if that game was your first, second, or third try. But after 10 tries and games weren't successful, then you need to uh, look for your next big hit. So at that time, it was exhausting. You needed a lot of energy to create games that were better than the other games out there. Um, so I'm not sure what's happening now. I just am. What I know from running a school is that there's still a big demand for talent. That especially since the pandemic, the workforce for developers has opened up globally, meaning that you can be in the Philippines and still be working for like different game development companies all over the world. So the possibilities of having your career anywhere doesn't mean that you need to leave home to do that. So we still get a lot of demand for talent from our school. So it's an up and down. There are years where it's up, there are years where it's down. But for our school, we seem to be doing a good job, because uh, our job placement rates are high, and our internship rates are like 100%.
I mean, that's a big deal. So, I mean, just especially right now, just because what you said, I think a lot of big game development companies are kind of top heavy, or just, AI kind of disrupted a lot of the industry a bit. So that's a big deal. I want you to talk about the Filipino market a bit. You talked about how your product kind of fit culturally and with the systems there. Tell us about the Filipino market, education wise.
Okay, for EduSuite, we're a B2B business, meaning that our clients are typically other K-12 and colleges and universities. So the market here is a little bit more fragmented and privatized. Like there are countries where majority of the education is controlled by public schools. In the Philippines, that's still true with K-12 schools. Majority, I would say 80% are public schools. Um, for college, it's more 50-50. 50% are in private, 50% are in public schools. But what you do find is that the schools that get into the top 1,000 Asian schools, and mainly aside from like the top public school in the Philippines, like everyone else are private schools. So there's a general perception that private schools in the Philippines are much higher quality than uh, public schools. Public schools are, a lot of them are, um, first they're top down driven, like the national office has something and then the regional office executes it, and there's not a lot of innovation that's happening on the ground for public schools here. Aside from the fact that it's very bureaucratic to deal with them. So in our case for EduSuite, we've made the decision, at least for now, that we're going to be doing business purely with private schools to also, avoid stress and uh, yeah, and keep our we have a lot of horror stories dealing with government in the Philippines, and that's why we also opted to deal with private schools a lot. It makes it easier, but still the rate of change and the sales cycle for private schools is very long because schools by their nature they like making decisions by committee as opposed to like corporate decision making where it's much faster.
They tend not to be early adopters either, I think.
Yes, yes. What we do find to be our main clients are either number one, those that are already run, because a lot of these private schools they're run by families, right? So what we do find is that we do have a lot of success with schools that are already on their second or third generation, run by the younger guys. The management is run by them, or those schools that are more professionally run by professionals, where they do objective evaluations of the software and they make conscious decisions that we need to modernize our systems or be left behind. What we have a lot of, I guess, longer decision making on our part would be the schools run by religious organizations that are not as professionally run. So, so it takes a while for them to actually adopt new technologies. And these are not even new technologies. I mean, we're talking about SaaS, which has been around, and a lot of them are still, looking for on-premise software. uh, that is like that is not scalable, that you can't rely on. And I guess a lot of them learned their lesson during the pandemic, where those that were running on on-premise software actually had a big disadvantage during that time.
The on-premise software, like, that honestly even surprises me that they're using that. Uh, like, what type of systems do you encounter them using, and what is EduSuite? What's your main selling point for them?
Okay, so because a lot of these schools have like 10, 15-year old softwares or even older, and changing them is a matter of like organizational change management. They have been using a lot of legacy stuff. We still have competitors that are, I guess, alive because they do a lot of maintenance for selling software that they sold like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So I guess these incumbent or legacy software are one of our big competitors. What we do offer as a software company that's natively SaaS is that you don't need an IT department to run it. You don't need to do your daily backups. We take care of everything for you. Our lifetime support is not something you pay for annually. It's the support is gonna be lifetime. That's on the I guess administrative side. On the product side, what we do offer is that we have a lot of AI powered management for the school. So they're the ones that will advise students what subjects they should be taking, and advise the school, the registrar, on what subjects they should be opening for the next term, and advise the deans what subject would be the most optimal to create for their next semester. So it that alone for like medium sized university would take somewhere between 4 to 8 weeks of planning that you can do at the click of the button, and you just wait an hour for it to process, and it will spit out schedule possibilities for you. And that's something unique we offer that none of our other competitors are offering.
That's a huge benefit and pretty cutting edge, I have to say, especially for ed tech and schools and stuff. How are you seeing the adoption rates on that?
um Yeah, I mean, pretty good for our own customers. But if you're talking about our market share, if we ask 10 different schools in the Philippines, you have like and what their software management or school management software system is, you'll get 10 different answers. So our market share is not even 2% of the local market. So yeah, it's growing. I think we just need to get uh, better at selling our software. We're traditionally tech guys, so sales is not our strength. A lot of our customers are inbound sales, like traditionally for the last 8 years. Um, so I think like for our own customers, we're always also constantly getting them to use more of the software's features. Uh, and it's always for our company, what we do is we do like annual training sessions, new releases. We have quarterly webinars on what the new features of the software are, and we do talks on how to automate more of their processes using our software. So we find like different schools have different adoption rates and utilizations for what features of the our system they're using.
Your insight about the school owners that are like third gen being more adoption friendly is super interesting, and really smart. You said most of your marketing and customers came from inbound. How did they find you? How did you generate any of that marketing and get those inbound leads?
Um, what we find, well, we have competitors that are better in sales. That they have like salespeople for each of the major islands in the Philippines. We focused more on the product development, so I would say maybe 10% of our market is from referrals. Do. Uh, we do just optimize for digital marketing, our SEO, our newsletters, including like capturing or data scraping like a lot of uh, the school officials in the Philippines, and send out emails to them. Um, we still get some outbound leads. I would say like less than maybe 20% are coming from events that we attend around the Philippines. But we do find that the most effective events for us to attend are the smaller ones that are regional in nature. Like the Philippines is divided into uh, I think 15 regions. So each of those regions would have their own school associations, and we try to like attend like a region somewhere like in the middle of the Philippines. We attend some small events there. So those are some of the outbound leads that we do get. But otherwise, it's really a lot of word of mouth. And and then them searching for us. So there all is also a domino tile where if you already cater to the top universities, and when these students apply to that university, they get recommendation forms, or they ask for recommendation forms from their former school. So the system would send out emails to these former schools, and we would have our logo on it. So so when the schools fill it out, oh, what's this software that they're using? Why is their recommendation process a lot more streamlined than the other schools that need to download the form, print it out, sign it, and then upload it again?
That's really smart. And to be honest with you, if word of mouth and inbound is your biggest marketing outreach, that's huge. That's amazing. That's like the best place to be.
The disadvantage for that is that it's also a slow process. So, took us a while to get there. Our company, volunteering this info, it took us like 6 years to start breaking even. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean it's ed tech, it's very slow. And especially when you're doing, I think K to I mean, you tell me what's been like the slowest going. Is it K-12 or is it universities? Like what's the hardest to get traction with?
I would guess it's the same. Like, it's not really whether they're K-12 or university. Of course, the bigger the school, the longer the sales cycle is, because you would need to do a lot more change management for the bigger organizations. So I think it's just in general, like schools would have really really long sales cycle, and for a lot of them, it's more effective if their colleagues or colleagues from other schools are the ones that say that we trust this provider, uh, rather than us saying that our software is good. We should use it. If someone else from their associations tells them that we've been using them for 3 years, these guys are different level from the ones that you're using now. Yeah.
You said a lot of the schools are owned by families. Do they just all know each other?
Mm, I wouldn't say like each other for from a nationwide perspective, but if you're talking about a single region, like schools generally know each other. It's not just the families themselves, even the staff. So we also get a bit of sales from our former customers, like their deans and their registrars resigning and then transferring to the other school. And then when they transfer to that school, they find out their system sucks. So they get in touch with us and recommend our software to the management of that school.
That's very interesting too. Have you tried to expand outside of the Philippines?
Uh, Tried is a keyword. So we tried attending events like in other places. One of the more obvious ones for us in the Southeast Asian region would be Indonesia, which I think is maybe the third, fourth largest education market globally. Uh, so we would say that they have, they're also very privatized. They're also very fragmented, like each one on their own island. Their scales are much larger. In Indonesia, a school with 10,000 students is typical or even considered small sometimes. But when we tried attending events there and we were uh, like studying or finding out what their workflows and processes are, you'd find that you just don't. It's not just the language that you need to localize. You also need to localize a lot of the workflows within the software. So you need to redevelop a lot of the workflows that are already in your software. And at that time, we decided that it's not yet worth the effort because you'd need a lot more investment redeveloping the software for that market. It's not just a matter of changing English to Bahasa and then it will sell itself there. So that's what we found out.
You're not alone. I talked to a lot of other owners, and they all talk about how difficult Indonesia is, specifically.
Yeah. And what surprised me about the Indonesian market is that since their scales are also large, universities are large, they have a tendency to have an in-house development team to do the software that they need. It's not going to be the best software because each school developing their own. It's not going to be by definition good practice, but I guess there's a big preference for that as well. So unlike here, people are more open to our business is education, not in developing software. So we'll just trust a third party to do the software for us.
That is interesting. There are a few, uh, people in Indonesia who did say, like, "Yeah, we're just gonna make our own software." And I don't think they understand how difficult that can be sometimes.
Even learning centers, I would imagine, which actually there's a lot of learning centers in the Philippines that I can introduce you to.
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone, that's why I was surprised that you said schools were using on-premise, because like, learning centers are just spreadsheets. I mean, there just really isn't much going on there, and they're usually not big enough to do, any custom software or anything like that. Um, so they're at, like, a weird point, where, like, usually they're big, but they've never got big enough to, you know, go beyond spreadsheets, but it really hurts, operationally at some point.
We have some pretty big learning centers here as well, like for nursing review centers and architectural review centers. uh, that actually get in touch with us, but we tell them that that's not our domain, it's not our business. So we don't have anyone to refer to actually.
Well, sweet. Now you do. um, Wrapping up, tell me about the future of EduSuite. Tell me where you see it's going, any like upcoming features, and just kind of trends you see in the education space. Because I think a lot's changed, especially in the last year, to be honest.
Well, actually, it's always us to be like aware and always on guard about our position. We're right now at a point where we're financially strong, growing company. Uh, but yeah, with the rise of vibe coding and AI coding, it's actually a lot. The barrier to entry is a lot lower. Where schools would say, "I'll just develop my own software." We can just vibe code this or create our own software using this. So it's up to us to actually uh, be competitive by also uh, I guess doubling the rate of our or increasing the rate of our new features being released, being more comprehensive. So on the product side, uh, it's us protecting our moat by making sure that we have all the features that schools would need, not just in the school management side, but even like, for example, students evaluating their teachers or creating documents using our software. So we need to add those features, and we're also leaning towards AI coding ourselves in order to make sure that we have rates of feature releases in our software that are gonna be compelling for our customers to stay with our software. And on the business side, we're not yet looking to outside expand outside the Philippines. Like we would probably target public schools first or look at public schools first before we actually expand outside. It's about us securing more market share and getting our name known even to the schools in the regions, in the rural areas of the Philippines. Like we would like EduSuite to be this exclusive club where if you're a good school and you're a modern school, this is the software you'd be using to run your school, and it gives a sense of pride not just to the school itself, but we've heard that a lot of students are proud that they have the same access to the same software that the bigger universities are using to run their school.
Absolutely. And actually, I think it's quite interesting that you're running a computer science school and running a software company. How are you incorporating like vibe coding like in the school or at work and stuff? I think that's such an interesting because like you initially made the school because of a lack of talent. Is vibe coding gonna like make up for that? Like does it like just tell me about that insight because I'm not even sure how that's gonna work.
Well, I guess it's a bit too early to tell. Like, one thing that we changed for our company first, right? Like, once AI coding came out, and now it's able to solve our entrance exams. Like, if you apply for a developer, you get traditionally it was make this function. This is the output. Well, you feed that to an AI now, and it will spit out the output for you. So the level of complexity of our exam needed to increase accordingly. It's not that oh, solve this without using AI or use pen and paper to do this, because realistically at work you won't tell them not to use AI, right? You would encourage them to use AI. So it's all about, instead of spitting out functions, here is the software design that I'd like you to do. Create this app for me within 3 days. So, even if they use AI or not, it's going to be their decision to do that. But, for them, it's not, they would need to vibe code a lot of it, or not just vibe code, or but AI code in general, a lot of it in order to come up with that software. But it still needs to follow software development best practices. It still needs to be clean code, not sloppy AI code that they need to submit, and they need to be able to explain what's inside that code when they submit that software. So that's how we incorporated it into our company. For the school, it's a lot trickier because you need to still give them the foundations first. You can't just say on year one, we're gonna vibe code all of this. You still need to give them the foundations first. They need to know what classes are and what memory management is before you move them on to AI coding. But that comes towards the end of their school year, where the level of expectation of what their final projects are would be a lot higher. The capstone projects need to be a lot more complex than what we would normally expect. There's still a lot of pushback from the students. It's really funny that it's the students that are protesting against the use of AI, because I think there's a fear there that AI would be taking their jobs. It's a valid concern because there's a lot of companies that are laying off people, especially on the junior level, for programmers. But for us, it's not that we're just going to turn a blind eye and say that we're not going to use AI because it's taking away their jobs. You need to be able to adopt to the use of AI, because that's going to be the future of coding, and not just coding, but design as well and art as well. You need to be able to produce output faster. That's what it is. That's how it is. uh, Turning it out now, is it's not something that we can do something about.
I mean, it sounds like you're a pro at pivoting. You're pretty good at that. Is there
We'd like to think so. Hopefully,
is there any, like, advice you'd give to someone looking in to enter the programming or computer science space at this point? Someone that just graduated high school? What advice would you give them?
mm, now that the barrier to entry is lower, it's now about you know, I guess creativity more than technical talent. So I would say that they really, whereas like if you ask me like 5, 10 years ago, uh, is tech a good career choice? It's like 100% yes, no questions asked. Go into tech. You'll definitely land a job right after taking your tech course. Now you need to be a little bit more careful about taking tech. You need to have the talent, because the barrier to entry is lower, but also the company selecting tech talent is going to be narrower. They choose people with talent more. So it went the same way as game development was. Like before, it's a lot of technical talent to go into game development, but with game engines, it's a lot easier. There's 100 more game developers, but also there's 99 more people that are not making money. I wouldn't say 99, but there's still like a lot of people that are not making money. So it's like similar to playing a guitar. Like everyone can play a guitar, but not everyone will make money playing guitar right now. So it's a lot more talent driven now than it used to be. It's not just going to be relying on your technical know-how to get into the tech industry.
That's great. That's a perfect way to end this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Adam. Glad to share my thoughts with you.
It's super interesting, because you're on, a lot of ends on the spectrum here. So, thank you for that insight. Where can people find you, and where can they find EduSuite?
You can go to our website, www.edusuite.asia. So, our URL has aspirations of going to Asia. And they can ping me on LinkedIn. You just, search for my name there, or even email me, niel@edusuite.asia.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and, we'll talk soon. See you soon.
Thank you, Adam. Yeah, have a good day.